Taxi leaders and organizations including SANTACO, provincial government, City of Cape Town and other stakeholders have gathered for a Western Cape Taxi Peace Summit. The aim is to find solutions to grave challenges, including bringing an end to violence and formalizing this crucial transport sector. Amongst the discussion points were addressing the root causes of conflict and fostering collaboration between government operators and communities. Worth over 5 billion rand as an industry, around 2 million people make use of taxis daily in the Western Cape. The South African National Taxi Council says formalizing the industry is paramount. A provincial company that represents the 8 regions in the Western Cape has been established. These regional companies will be able to enter into contracts with government. However, the challenge will be at the coalface with primary associations that might not be willing to fall under a structured organization. This year, at least 7 people have been killed or injured, but efforts are being made to bring all within the industry around the table for discussions. SANTACO's national body says any engagements must reflect commitment to action. The Western Cape government acknowledged the vital role the taxi industry plays in the economy. It says, amongst others, it will address outdated regulatory frameworks and look at how to use laws and policies to contribute reducing conflict in the industries. For more now on this, we're joined by the Western Cape MEC for Mobility, Isaac Sileku. Isaac, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. This is the first big engagement the provincial government has had with the sector following what were protracted strikes last year that saw the City of Cape Town come to quite literally a standstill for a couple of days when taxi operators protested against having their vehicles impounded, particularly vehicles that didn't have the necessary permits or weren't roadworthy. I have to ask the sensational question first. What was the temperament like between the provincial government as well as taxi operators following, of course, what was a very difficult 2024?
Yeah, Oliver, thank you very much. And good evening to you and good evening to your viewers. Firstly, the temper, it was very calm. You know, it was calm. We went there. We wanted to speak. You know, we wanted to come with solutions. We wanted to understand. You know, we wanted to find solutions, and everybody was open and we were honest, and you know, there were no blame games. You know, we are looking at solutions, and the time for people blaming, you know, a particular stakeholder for things that are happening in the minibus taxi industry, you know, I believe it's over. It's us now to really take hands, because we need one another if we really want to save, you know, the minibus taxi industry and ultimately make sure that our commuters, you know, that needs to go to school, that needs to go to work, are able to do all those things without any fear, you know, of losing their lives, of not being able to return home. And I must say, you know, I was very encouraged, you know, by the mood, you know, and the interaction that we had today with the industry.
Yeah. I mean, the novel conversation really would have been formalizing the sector, that is to say, establishing a holding company through which all the associations can fall under, and that enables them to do business with the state. And of course, we know that doing business with the state is incredibly contentious, particularly for an industry as fractious and divided as the taxi industry. Of course, we will begin to see taxi associations that particularly don't like each other and don't agree with each other begin to compete for the mind and attention of the state. You are the MEC in charge of the department that will foster that. What is your vision for how you envision to do business with the Taxi Association in the Western Cape?
And firstly, one has to understand that there is a company, a holding company that is called Manyano Travel Services. You know, that's what we have supported, and it's basically just to create opportunities for the industry to actually make business. When we implemented Blue Dot and Red Dot, you know, Manyano came to the fore, and that's what we are currently doing. We are actually mentoring all of the taxi industry players and making sure that they become, you know, staunch business people. We're also helping them with conflict resolution and making sure that they mediate, because ultimately one want to see, you know, is that, you know, they become, you know, fully fledged business people. You know, they can operate, they can, you know, have businesses with all departments, you know, because ultimately that's what we want to see. We want to transform, we want to formalize the industry, but the industry also needs to start with themselves and believe in themselves, so that we are able to help them to establish. Because I see, you know, a taxi industry that can operate buses in the future, they can operate airlines, and I think that's the vision of our premier as well. You know, saying like, you know, they would want to see SANTACO, you may be listed on a JSC company. That's what we want to see. We want people to think out of the box, and we as government are there. We are there to help them, but they must be willing to say, we want to change things and how things has been in the past, and look at opportunities that we can have basically in our country.
Yeah, this question might be a little bit unfair given your positionality, but I think it's important to ask it nonetheless. The city of Cape Town was accused by taxi operators as well as e-hailing operators of siphoning and extorting, quite literally, money from them through fines and impoundings that they sometimes called irregular impoundings, which is an inordinate amount of money. It can go into thousands or tens of thousands for certain operators if they are being impounded repeatedly and more than one time. The taxi industry felt like the government was at war with it. That certainly came up in the discussions that you had at the summit. To what extent were you able to, as the leading government official there, offer solutions to mending the relationship that some taxi operators and associations feel that they may have with an organization like the City of Cape Town, which quite literally makes money from fines being paid to it by taxi operators?
No, Oliver, I think what is important, and I think the colleagues who, they use the word that they have been prosecuted. And I said to the colleagues, for the industry to say such things, one would want to understand why would one feel that they are being prosecuted or, by a particular stakeholder. But also we need to understand that we operate in the framework of law and order, and we cannot allow lawlessness. And I've been clear to the industry to say that any law or any legislation or bylaw can only be activated by behavior. So, and I've been consistent in saying the industry, we can have as many laws and bylaws, but if we maintain and we play our role as the industry and we follow what is expected from us, and then all those laws will not be activated. And I think the time for blaming people and saying a particular sphere is not, is targeting a particular industry. I think it's really unfair because we've got a minibus taxi task team. We sit with them, we sit with the minibus taxi industry, and we sit with the City of Cape Town. And the City of Cape Town was there today. And all the challenges that we're confronted with, we address them in the minibus taxi task team. And after the meeting, we issue a joint statement where everybody agrees. Of course, there are legacy issues that cannot be resolved overnight. And I think we have committed from the side of the city and from the side of the government of the Western Cape to say, all the legacy issues that has been there that can actually contribute to what we are currently confronted with within the minibus taxi industry. We are willing to find solution in those, to address those issues. I think that should be the direction. It should never be about us blaming one another, but saying, there were mistakes made in the past, if there's any, and then we need to correct it. If our laws are outdated, let's look at how we can actually amend our laws and make sure that everybody agrees with us.
And just last question, give me an answer in 10 seconds if you can. Ostensibly, taxi violence would have been a part of the conversation, particularly around the fatalities. 7 fatalities reported in the Western Cape. What has been the key takeaway on that discussion point?
The takeaway is that, killings in the industry is not good for business. We all agree. We need to stop that, and it needs to stop now. And that's what that was our ultimate take out of the session. All of us have committed to make sure that we have less and less killings, and make sure that some of the people that want to infiltrate the minibus taxi industry, that we must be on the lookout for such individuals, because there are third forces that want to infiltrate the industry, and as a result they are bringing in criminal elements within the industry, and then it affects the work that we want to do as government. And we have said we need to be on the lookout for such individuals.
MEC Isaac Sileku, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Isaac Sileku, the MEC for Mobility in the Western Cape.